Hello, my name is Dan Cobley and this is going to be a lesson on how to play Moving On and Getting Over by John Mayer. This one goes out to Craig Miller, who requested that I did the solo. I've actually gone one step further and was listening to this track and handwriting everything that I heard in it. So I'm a massive technophobe when it comes to computer music programs. So what I've actually done is handwritten the tab, scanned it into the computer. I'll put the link in the description below so that you can have a read of my parts that I've written. A note on settings for the guitar, I've actually turned my volume a tiny bit down, so it's probably on like, well, you can see here, I've just adjusted it that much. Now on a Strat, unless you've got a treble bleed mod, it will allow that to sort of just knock a little bit of the high end off. Otherwise I'm clean, tiny bit of compression, and a tiny bit of reverb too. I'm on the neck pickup also. By the way, apologies for the light in this video. I actually recorded this entire video once, and my GoPro stopped working, then my Zoom stopped working, and then my phone stopped working, so I'm recording it once more. The audio's from the Zoom. I've not got the GoPro close-ups for you today. Okay, it's all written out in the tab, and I'll go through everything as slowly as I can. So a quick note on the chords for the verse. The chords are C sharp minor and B major, and to do this inversion, because it's quite a high one, we're going to bar the 9th fret on the G, B and E strings with our first finger. And for the B major, we're going to bar the 7th fret on those same 3 strings, but put our middle finger on the G string on the 8th fret. Like that. There's a repeating part throughout the song. There's not really a chorus to the song, it's just a hook part. And this is the first thing that we hear in the song. It goes like this. Like that. It's a really nice part. Now it's different the first time you hear it, so I'll just tell you the difference. And then later on, whenever I mention the hook part, I'm talking about that riff. So the first time you hear it, it starts on the 9th fret on the B string, hammers on 7th to 9th on the E string, plays the 7th fret on the E string, back to the 9th fret on the B. So those 4 together sound like this. And then the second half of it on the 9th fret on the G string, 9 to 10 hammer on the B string, play the 9th fret on the B string, and that's the same every time you hear it. This one little last bit is slightly different the first time. So on the G string, we're going to do kind of a half tone slide down from the 12th fret to the 11th fret and pull off to the 9th fret. Okay? Now every other time you hear the hook in this song, it just, instead of that, it just goes to the 7th fret on the B string. So, the intro part is this. And the part for the rest of the song, which I believe is played on a different guitar because some of the parts overlap it a little bit, sounds like this. Okay, so in the intro I've labelled that riff A. Riff B goes like this. That's riff B. I'll play it slowly for you. Okay, so it starts on the E string, the low E string, with a hammer on 7 to 9. The same hammer on the A string. And then you're going to slide from the 9th to the 11th fret on the A string quite quickly. Back to the 7th fret on the A string. And then the same slide, 9 to 11 again. But this time land on the 9th fret after that. That together. Okay, you'll notice for this song I'm actually playing with my fingers. I often do that anyway because I grew up listening to like Mark Knopfler. John Mayer often does the same. I think in this song there's too many kind of slap and pop sounds to use a pick for it. So the first of those is the 7th fret on the D string. And we're going to kind of pull it as if we're popping on a bass guitar. So I'm hooking my first finger underneath that string. I'm playing the 7th fret on the D string. This part is. So after we've done that 7th fret, we're going to slide on the A string 7 to 9 with our first finger. Then play the 9 and hammer onto the 11th fret on the D string. And then play the 9, play the 11 on the G string. and then do the same 2 notes but with a hammer on this time, and then go back to the 9th fret on the G string, again slowly. Okay, and then the last little bit, we're going to slide up on the G string, 11 to 13, play the 12th fret on the B string, and on the 14th fret on the B string, we're going to do a half tone bend, up, down and release. Okay, pull off to that 12th fret on the B string. Okay, and then riff C comes immediately after that. Now I've put it down as riff C because I just think it's worth learning separately. It goes like this. Okay, so same 2 notes, 12th and 14th fret on the B string. Straight away slide down to the 9th fret on the B string, like that. And then on the G string we're going to play 11, 9, 11th fret on the D string, and back up to the 9 on the G string. Okay, so that is the intro part over. So now we're into the verse. So moving on, getting over, not the same it seems to me. There's our first riff. Just after it seems to be, or it seems to me, I don't know the lyric, it's on the 9th to 11th fret, hammer on the D string, and then play the 9th fret twice on the G string. It's really simple, that one. And that's the actual only riff in verse 1. Goes back to the hook part, so I'll play it quickly. Okay, so that's while, and I still can't seem to get you off my mind. That part. From then we're going to do this new riff. Okay, like I said, I think it's played on a different guitar because on some of these it's quite hard to actually get to the next riff. So you might want to leave that if you're performing it solo. Okay. This part, we're going to bar the D and G strings on the 9th fret. We're going to slide up to the 11th and back down to the 9th. Okay. Then a little slide from the 9th to 11th fret on the A string and play that 9th fret bar that we've just done. Okay. Then we're going to go back to the 11th fret on the A string and slide from the 9th fret to the 11th fret, back to the 9th fret, this is all on the A string, and then pull off to the 7th fret. And then slowly, like that. Okay, so just after doing that, it then does that same slide again, 9 to 11, back to 9, with the bar chord. And then the same slide 9 to 11 on the A string, plays that bar chord again, 9th fret, plays the 11th fret on the A string, and then slides down to the 9th fret on the A string. So that part all together is. Okay, now slowly. The second part, hook. The hook part comes back again, and then the same kind of idea happens, but it's a tiny bit different. So this time we're going to start with that 11th fret slide on the A string. The same slide 9 to 11 to 9 on the 2 middle strings. Play the 11th fret on the A string, and then slide down to the 9th fret. And then we're going to do the same pattern again, so 11th fret slide on the A string, 2 middle strings, 9 to 11 to 9, play the 11th fret on the A string, slide down to the 9 and then slide down to the 7. Like that, okay. So then immediately after that, I've put it on the tab as post verse 1 because it's, well, after verse 1, it's before verse 2. There's 2 guitar parts going on at the same time here. It's quite hard to hear exactly what this guitar part does because it's kind of harmony, it's mini chords and intervals going on at the same time. The chords going on in the background will add to that harmony as well, okay, so don't forget that. The part that I think I can hear is this. Like that, okay? So here I'm I'm starting off in thirds. I'm playing the D string on the 10th fret and the G string on the 8th fret, and I'm going to slide that up just 1 fret each, so to the 11th and 9th. And then this part we're going to play the 11th, hammering onto the 13th, pulling off to the 11th on the G string, like that, just on its own. And then we're going to add that third in again, so the 13th fret on the D string. So this time we're letting that ring while we do the hammer on from 11 to 13 on the G string with our little finger, like that, and then playing the 11th fret on its own on the G string. And after we play that 11th fret on its own, we play the chord once more that we've just done. The chord that we've ended up on then, we're going to slide it and do a clever little hammer on as well. So we slide it up 1 fret with our third finger, and as we do that we hammer on with our middle finger on the 13th fret on the G string, so to make it a major third. Play the 12th fret on the B string, and then go back to the 11th and 9th fret chord that we started off on. So all together. Like that. The next part, we start off barring with our third finger, the 14th fret on the 2 middle strings. Go back to that major third chord that we did, the 14th and 13th fret. Do that same little kind of hammer on slide that we did a second ago. And pull off, and kind of pull off and slide back to the 11th and 13th again. And play the chord once more on its own. So that part slowly. Okay. Now there's a little bend as well. At the 14th fret we do a whole tone bend. This can be on either guitar part, whichever one you're playing if you're performing it on your own. You can choose to add this on at the end, so that is like that. It sounds quite harsh on its own, it's quite low in the mix and it's quite compressed, so you can't really hear it too much. But it's on the 14th fret on the E string, it's a whole tone bend to make the 16th fret sound. Okay. The other guitar part actually comes in on beat 2 to kind of clash with the harmony part that we've just done there. So that would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, like that. Okay, so it starts off on the E string, does a 7 to 9 hammer on, and goes up to the 7th fret on the A string. These are little groups of 3 in this one. Okay, then with our third finger we're going to slide on the A string 9 to 11 and end up on the 9th fret on the D string. And then we add in that little bluesy note, the 10th fret on the D string, hammering onto the 11th fret, and then ended up on the 9th fret on the G string. So. And here we go on the A string and slide down to the 9th fret. Okay. Like that. The next part again comes in on beat 2. This time we start off on the A string, do a 9 to 11 hammer on, going on to the 9th fret on the D string, then the same pattern but on the D and G strings, and then we do that same little 12 to 11 to 9, slide down and pull off like we did at the very start of the song. This is all on the G string. Like that. Okay? With those two guitar parts together it sounds really nice. Verse 2, the only little guitar part that we actually have to play, is after the words. Not the friends they used to be. We just do that same bend, the 14th fret on the E string that we did earlier. So that whole tone bend. Like that. Again, it's low in the mix, it's not as harsh sounding as my guitar is now. That's it. Again, the hook part comes back. Okay, and this time, just after the hook, we're starting off on the 9th fret, barring the 2 middle strings again. And this time we hammer on just on the D string to the 11th fret, and play it once more on its own, the 11th fret on the D string. And then do the same thing, nearly, on the A and D string, so 9th fret on each, hammering onto the 11th fret on the A string, and then pulling off this time to the 9th fret on the A string. Okay, then playing the 7th fret on the A string, and then 9, slide it to 11, back to 9 on the A string. Like that. You can do a pull off or a slide back there, it's up to you. I think I do a pull off usually. And then the second part goes. So this part's a tiny bit tricky. We're starting on the E string on the 12th fret, with the 9th fret on the A string, sliding up. Now you can use either finger, your third or first finger. Personally, I think your first finger is going to be the one to use. We do that slide 9 to 11 to 9 on the 2 middle strings again, like that. Then this time with our third finger, I would use personally here, we're going to use the A and D strings, 9th fret to 11th fret slide. And this time pull off just to the 9th fret, so naturally that will kind of cut off the sound on the D string, and then slide down to the 7th fret. We want to try not to do what I just did a second ago, where it kind of hits another string and makes a horrible sound. So, like that. Okay? And it ends there. Okay? The hook comes back again for the words, and I do believe I feel you all the time. And this time on the off beat and between beats 1 and 2, this little part comes in. Okay, this part, tiny bit tricky actually, not the bit that you think is tricky. We're going to start off on the B string. We're going to do a 9 to 12, back to 9, hammer on pull off pattern. And then on the G string, 11 to 13, back to 11. So again, the counting for this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. There, on the and. And the tricky bit actually on this one is sliding up on the D string to the 11th fret, playing the 11th fret on the A string, and then doing that same slide that we've just done again on the D string. Like that. It's quite low in the mix, so you could probably leave it out if you wanted, but I want to show you as exactly as possible. The next part starts on that slide on the A string to the 11th fret, going up to the 9th fret on the D string, and then the same kind of thing that we did a minute ago. We're barring the D and G strings on the 9th fret, hammering onto the 11th fret on the D string, pulling off to the 9th fret on the D string, and then this time on the A string we're going to slide down to the 9, slide down to the 7, and play the 9 on the E string. Now I used my third finger then, and you could see that I had to do a bit of a jump. Use your first finger for this bit. Like that. Okay, try not to really attack these notes, because again, that's why I'm using my thumb. I could get greater control over it than I could with a pick. Okay, so there's kind of weird part here. On the tell me I can have the fact you love me to hold on to, that part. It's kind of weird. It's a sort of sus chord in the background, and I think I can hear these notes, so I'm going to try my best to explain it. What I'm doing here is I'm on the 9th fret on the D string, the 6th on the G string, and the 7th on the B string, and I'm going up that little arpeggio twice fully, and then I'm stopping when I get to the 6th fret on the third time round. So I'm doing twice on that chord, and then the second kind of chord shape that happens is it bars the 6th fret, and that 7th fret on the B string stays where it is. So you do the same pattern again. It's palm muted and it's quite low in the mix anyway in the track, so it sounds a bit like this. Okay, again, that's a sort of rhythmic part rather than a lead bit, because it's interrupted by this part. And then for all my running I can understand, that bit, it goes. So that starts on the D string on the 11th fret, slide up to it if you like. On the G string we're going to slide up to the 9th fret, then play the 8th fret. Then on the D string, 9, 11, 2, 3, 4, and then 11th fret on the D string, 9 to 8 again on the G string, This time on the G string, 11, 10. Bit of a weird one. This is where the harmony riff comes in, so I'm going to try and play it as best as I can. Now I did want to use my loop pedal for this, but there must be a faulty connection in there somewhere. So I'm going to have to try and play it in time and do some split screen stuff so you can hear that it's right. The part that I'm going to call guitar 1 goes like this. 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, and the guitar 2 part goes like this. 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. It's probably going to be slightly out of time in the video, but that's as close as I can probably get it. Guitar part 1 is probably a bit trickier than guitar part 2. Guitar part 1 goes like this. Starts off on the 9th fret, hammering onto the 10th fret on the G string. And the trickiest bit now is getting up to the next bit. 12th fret on the B string on its own. Then on the E string, we're going to do 14, 12, pull off. On the B string, 14, 12, pull off. And then on the G string, we're going to go from 13, slide down to 11, pull off to 9. And then on the D string, play the 11, play the 9, and finish on the 12 on the A string. Okay. Second guitar part, there's a kind of little major chord triad to start with. It goes 11th fret on the D string, 10th fret on the G string, 9th fret on the B string, and then a little pull off pattern again. 11 to 9 on the E string, same on the B string, then 10, 9 on the G string, play the 11, play the 9 on the D string, play the 11, play the 9 on the A string. Okay, now the next part I actually didn't write in originally into my tab, but I've put it in and I've just put kind of funk strumming. It's kind of a random part. It's on the sort of quiet bit before verse 3 comes in. It's something like this. Like that. All I'm doing there is kind of sporadically playing the 9th fret for the 11th fret on the D string, a hammer on, playing it once more, and then going on the 11th fret and kind of doing an offbeat, syncopated kind of part on the G string on the 11th fret. Like that. I wanted to include everything that I could, so that's why that's in there. Alright, so verse 3. Here's where we start getting some real guitar parts in. Okay? It comes in on beat 4 actually, this riff, straight away. And it goes like this. Like that. I'm going to go on the G string, slide up to the 13th fret. This is on beat 4. And then on the B string, we're going to play a hammer on from the 12th to the 14th fret, and then go back to the 12th fret just by playing it on its own. Okay. A couple of, we've got like 2 beats of rest there, and then a big bend on the 14th fret on the B string. A whole tone and a half, so. To as near as possible make that 17th fret on the B string. From then, we're going to play the 12th to 14th fret hammer on again, and play the 12th fret on the B string. On the G string, we're going to play the 11th fret on its own, and then a hammer on 11 to 13 on the G string. Like that. Then there's a little kind of pre-bent note. So on the G string on the 11th fret, we're going to sort of bend it up a quarter tone before we play it. Playing it, releasing it, and then playing the 9th fret on the G string. There's that 14th fret whole tone bend that comes in again in the background. Okay? So the next part on the line, it's been so long since I got to hold you, there's another little bit. It slides up, same again, 13th fret on the G string, and very quickly pulls off from the 14th to the 12th on the B string. Like that. And then on the B string, there's a little slide from the 12th, 14th, back to the 12th. And then on the G string slides down to the 11th fret and further down to the 9th fret. Then we're into that hook part again. And we've got a really nice little part here. Okay, so we're playing the 9th fret on the B string here, but we've also got the note of the E string open ringing in the background. So to do this, we need to make sure we kind of got a nice arch on our fingers so they're not touching that so they're not touching that E string, sorry. And to do this part, we're going to hammer onto the 10th, still leaving that E string ringing. And come back down, so play the 10th, pull off to the 9th again, still without touching the E string if you can help it. And then play the 11th fret on the G string on its own, so. Do that same part again. Okay, now as close as possible, please try not to sort of, mess it up in some way, because it just doesn't sound as nice. You need that ringing note in the background. Okay. Nice part again. So this time it's a descending bend part. It starts on the E string on the 14th fret. There's a whole tone bend, releases and pulls off to the 12th fret. Then same again on the B string, but this time it's only a half tone bend. Then on the G string we've got a kind of awkward part here. There's a whole tone bend on the 14th fret, pulls off to the 13th fret, where it immediately does a half tone bend, then releases, like that, and then plays the 14th fret on the D string. Okay. The next part is similar to what we just did a second ago. We're leaving the E note ringing if we can, the high E string, and we're playing 10th to the 12th fret on the B string, hammer on, and then playing the 11th fret on the G string, like that. Then on the G string we're going 11 to the 13th fret, back to the 11th fret, hammer on, pull off, like that, sliding down to the 9th fret, and then playing that kind of minor third shape that you did earlier, the 11th fret on the D string and the 9th fret on the G string. Okay, all together it goes. So then we've got this part that goes like this. That bit, okay? Here, there's some tricky riffs and you're going to need to listen to the rhythm on the CD track to really get this. The first one goes like this. So for this one, on the G string, we're going to bend the 14th fret one whole tone and stop it at the top. And then with our middle finger, where it should be anyway, we're going to bend the 13th fret a half tone, play the 13th fret on its own, and then play the 14th fret on the D string. Okay. Wait for the next to finish, and then we've got a slightly extended version of what we just did. Tricky this bit. Starts on the G string, 14th fret, whole tone bend, 13th fret, half tone bend, play the 13th on its own, and then this time a quick whole tone bend on the 14th fret still on the G string, and end on the 14th fret on the D string again. And then immediately after, a little bluesy pattern that you might be familiar with already if you play some bluesy type guitar. 12th to the 13th fret, hammer on the G string, play the 14th fret on the G string, same hammer on 12th to 13th, and end on the 14th fret on the D string. So, like that, okay? Next part's easier to start with and then gets tricky towards the end, like really tricky. I'll play it for you now. this is the bit just before the solo. So we start off on the 12th fret on the B string, just play it once. Do a bend up on the 14th fret, whole tone, and end up on the 12th fret on the B string again. Okay? Okay. Then on the G string we're going to play the 14th fret on its own, and then pre-bend it a whole tone, and immediately play it and release it. And then on the 12th fret we're kind of going to pull it downwards slightly, so like a quarter note bend, and land on the 14th fret on the D string. That bit sounds like this. Okay? So then on the G string on the 12th fret we're going to kind of do the same thing again. We're going to play a quarter tone bend twice, and end up on the 14th fret on the D string. Okay? Like that. And then the last part is a riff that's taken me quite a while to get used to and to even hear on the CD. Okay, so with our first finger, and it's quite important to use your first finger here, on the D string we're going to slide up 12 to 14 quite quickly, and then where your third finger should land should be quite handy for this. On the G string you're going to slide down from the 16th fret to the 14th, and then pull off to the 11th fret, so a bit of a stretch there. Okay, then immediately with your middle finger slide up to the 13th fret on the G string and play the 12th fret twice on the B string. And then we're into the solo, which is the fun bit. Now it's actually not a very tricky solo, to be honest. You've done more difficult things in the rest of the song if you've been following this. It starts off like this. Nearly. It starts off with a slide on the B string, 12 to 14, and goes onto the E string, 12, 12. Okay. Then that same bend that you've done a couple of times on the 14th fret on the E string, whole tone bend, land on the 14th fret on the E string. Okay. The next part comes back a couple of times, so try to get your fingers used to these stretches on the bends. You're going to start off on the 16th fret on the E string, and it's kind of just underneath a whole tone bend. It's cut off at the top anyway, so you can't really hear what note it gets to, but it's what we're kind of aiming for, that sound. So 16th fret, nearly whole tone bend, 15th fret, half tone bend, and then play the 12th fret on its own. Okay. The next bit is a pull off on the B string from 14 to 12. Then on the G string slides down to the 11th fret and then plays the 9th fret. Then on the D string you do a little pull off very quietly from the 11th fret to the 9th fret. So. Okay, it's not too tricky, that bit. I think you'll get the hang of that very quickly. Next bit, that same bend pattern comes back. So 16 whole tone, 15 half tone. Yeah, lands on the 12th fret on the E string still. Next bit, pull off from the 14th to the 12th on the B string. Slide up to the 16th fret on the E string. And play the 14th fret on the E string. So. The next bit rhythmically is quite tricky, but it's not that hard to play. You're going to play up the 12th fret on the E string, and then on the B string you're going to do the 14th fret as like a kind of quarter note bend again, and then play the 14th on its own. So. Okay. Then play the 12th fret on the B string, quite a quick note, and then readjust your fingers so you'll be kind of around the 11th fret with your third finger this time on the G string. You're going to do a whole tone bend and then play the 11th fret on its own on the G string. So. Like that. Then very quickly play the 9th on the G string, then the 11th on the D string, and then the same bend again. So the 11th up a tone, cut off at the top, play the 11th again on its own on the G string. And that last little bit that I've added at the end there is a little 9th fret on the G string, a quarter tone bend again, and I pull it away from me this time, so I pull it downwards. That's just to give my fingers on the D string a bit of space. Here you're going to add in that bluesy note again to the 12th fret on the D string, the 11th fret on the D string, and the 9th fret on the D string, and do a little hammer on and pull off on the 11th fret, back to the 9th fret. Okay, I'll play the solo all slowly. Okay, so then we're on to the final straight really. There's a little part that I've put as a repeating in brackets part towards the end. So this bit is kind of going... Okay, this is in the outro section. Again, it's kind of more of a rhythmic part, but I thought I'd throw it in there for you. All I'm doing is playing the 9th to 11th fret on the G string, then landing on the 11th fret on the D string. Like that. It's not too tricky, but it's also not very loud in the mix. It's just if you want that in there. So then there's 3 riffs, A, B and C, I've labelled them. The A riff goes like this. Like that. Starts on the G string with an 11th fret whole tone bend, plays the 11th fret on its own, goes to the 9th fret, like that, and then back to the 11th on the D string, up to the 9th and 11th on the G string. And then on the riff B, which comes in a little bit later on, same kind of part. And it's got a tiny bit of a different rhythm at the end. Start off with that same bend pattern, so 11 whole tone, play the 11 on its own, 9 on its own, land on the 11th fret on the D string, and then there's a little offbeat, and you're going to play 11, 9 on the D string. Okay, the last bit goes... This part's really cool actually, it's a little like country riff and it's really quiet at the end. The last little thing that you need to learn. Start off on the G string, 9 to 11, and then you bend up the 11th fret whole tone and leave it ringing at the top. And my strat goes out of tune noticeably when you play that, but you're going to play the 12th fret on the B string as you're at the top of that bend, and then play the bend again at the top and release it down so, and pull off to the 9th fret. This is all on the G string. Okay. End on the 11th fret on the D string, and then same again, 9 to 11 on the G string. Brilliant, and that's the end of the song. I wanted to do the whole of this because as we were listening to it I was thinking, there's so many good riffs in this song, and to be honest I was overfaced at first, but a couple of hours and I had it all written down. Again, check the link in the description please, because the tabs will be in there. Sorry for the handwriting, it's just because I think music's more interesting when you do stuff by hand rather than on a computer all the time. If this has helped you out, please do give the video a thumbs up, a comment, subscribe, do whatever you fancy. And if you do make a cover after seeing this, please again send me the link to it. I'd love to watch it. Alright? Thanks a lot. I'll be making more videos in the very near future.